Hello, my frightful little friends beyond the screen. I'm Taylor, your casual crypt keeper. Today we are headed out into the forest. You leave the chocolate and graham crackers at home because we are not cooking s'mores. The only thing we're cooking today is ghost stories. I don't know if that really made sense, but that's what we're cooking. So find a comfy patch of grass to squat on and get yourself real comfy because you're not going anywhere. This is the top 5 scary haunted forests you can never escape. You could probably like escape a little. That's just the title for like clicking reasons. You let me know down below which of these forests freaked you out the most, okay? Now let's dive on in. Number 5, Bacu Forest, Romania. Our next entry is going to take us to Transylvania to Romania, the Bacu Forest. Now forgive me, I probably stepped all over how to pronounce that. My Romanian ain't quite what it used to be, and it didn't start as much. The forest is beautiful, if not more than a little haunted, with countless reports of paranormal activity stemming from within the hectares of the creepily bountiful woods. The place already kind of looks like it's the set to a million Halloween movies as is, with the twisted trees curling ever outwards. Now there are several legends and stories coming out of the forest. It's even been called the Bermuda Triangle of Romania. It's quite the resume. According to one legend, a girl went wandering in the forest one day to escape the difficulties of life and take her mind off her troubles, and she found herself lost in the forest and never returned. Her family looked and looked for her, but to no avail. They never found her and assumed that their daughter had passed until she reappeared and walked her way home 5 years later, unsure where she'd been, and said she didn't remember anything of the experience without having aged a day on her. Well, time forest over there. A shepherd and his flock of over 200 sheep were said to have vanished without a single trace, not even a hoof print. And there's a woman who went wandering through the forest and came back and discovered she had a 19th century coin in her pocket. In the 1960s, biologist Alexander Sift photographed a strange object he saw above the sky of the Bacu forest, which would gain notoriety as a UFO sighting. What I'm trying to get across with the Bacu forest here is that it is a real cosmic gumbo of scary stuff. What wasn't happening here that was supernatural? I think you guys need to go, I don't know, check the soil or something. There's definitely something in the dirt there causing all those hauntings. And if you're looking for way more stories of haunted forests or really just about anything scary, Top 5 Scary has all of that and then some. If it's freaky, we've done a video or 2 on it. So hit that little subscribe button. Please ring that bell if you're feeling so kind. But, and I know this is a big ask, do that at the end of this video, okay? Because I got way more haunted forests coming up for you literally right this second. Right now. Number 4, Highgate Cemetery. If you stroll through Highgate Cemetery, there's a good chance you'll run into someone famous. The beloved novelist Douglas Adams, the beloved novelist Karl Marx is also an author of sorts, or perhaps you'll run into the Highgate vampire, or one of the witches and spirits that are said to live within this hallowed plot. Highgate Cemetery was raised in the early 1800s, when the city's population was topping the 1 million mark and not slowing down anytime soon, even with a rising number of dead. A lot of dead. Undertakers would cram graves between shops and taverns, shallow graves hastily covered with lime. It got so bad that undertakers would dress as clergymen so that they could carry out dead in secret, illegal ceremonies. Imagine being part of an illegal street burial. And that's happening as late as the 1830s. That is insane. With the stench and disease filling up the streets, Parliament had to move to put all the dead somewhere because just in between the Tesco wasn't really doing it for anybody. And in the 1830s, they passed an expansion project to add 7 cemeteries into the city of London, with Highgate being exalted as the most luxurious one. Anybody who's anybody wanted to be decomposing in Highgate. Highgate found a surge of new excitement and energy in the 70s when it became a popular site for horror movie film sets. I mean, look at the place, it looks very scary. It eventually meant that the place got an unexpected boost from paranormal hunters who wanted to come check out what was going on there, and legends of the Highgate vampire became common through the 70s. He was said to be a Romanian nobleman from the Middle Ages, and his coffin was brought to England from Europe in the 18th century, and his followers bought him a house in the West End. I don't know about a wealthy Romanian nobleman having followers that buy houses for a dead man. That does seem a bit suspicious. Allegedly now, his followers performed a ritual to bring him back, and now if you believe those legends, he can be seen as a tall, dark figure that glides through the cemetery. Is he out there? You'd have to book a ticket to Highgate, because I'm not looking to find out anytime soon. Unless Top 5 Scary wants to pay for my trip, and then we can talk talk. We'll talk about that after we're finished filming, okay? Number 3, Pine Barrens, New Jersey. Our next entry is the famous Pine Barrens of New Jersey. The lush, verdant fields span over 1 million acres and 7 counties in New Jersey, and if you believe the legends, are said to be the home of New Jersey's most infamous resident. No, not Snooki. I'm talking about the Jersey Devil, America's favorite winged monstrosity. Well, after Mothman, maybe. You let me know down below in the comments. Jersey Devil, Mothman, whose side you got? Way back when the country was still blossoming and clinking glasses, celebrating that whole revolution business, the Barrens were a place of burgeoning industry, host to sawmills, paper mills, and other lesser non-mill based industries that don't bear mentioning. Eventually, people ran from the mills and to the hills when coal was said to be found in Pennsylvania, leaving the Barrens, well, a little bit barren. As most residents went off to try and get a lump of coal in their stocking, the Barrens were left behind, leaving ghost towns, but more importantly, ghost stories and legends of the Jersey Devil. If you're a top 5 scary fan, you've definitely heard a thing or two about the Jersey Devil, but between you and me, you could always stand to hear a little more. There are several legends and fables about this wretched creature, but one of the more consistently retold stories is that there was an old crone who had given birth 12 times, and that wasn't enough apparently, because on her 13th birth, the devil cursed her and the Jersey Devil was born. A foul beast with a goat's head, leathery wings, and hooves. It flew up the chimney into the Barrens and became a figure of legend, being spotted hundreds of times in the 19th century, with some papers even offering a bounty for the creature's head. Now, as far as I know, that bounty is still up if anyone's looking to collect and looking for an easy way to pay rent. You just gotta ship up to the Barrens and bag the devil. Done and done. 20 minutes work, in and out. Number 2, Manchac Swamp. Okay, this one might be a slight cheat. I hear you guys raising your pitchforks and your torches saying, that's a swamp, that's not a forest. But what is a swamp if not a particularly marshy forest? They're all boreal ecosystems, okay? We are splitting hairs here. The point is that this one's haunted and there's trees around it. So I think that's enough to qualify it for a position on this list of cursed brush. New Orleans is filled to bursting with 2 things: the most wondrous advancements in soul food and gumbo on the planet, and ghost stories. There's a whole lot of voodoo to go around in Louisiana, and in Manchac they say there's the ghost of an old voodoo priestess named Julie White. The story of Julie White is an unnerving one. She was said to be a bit of a recluse and would sit on the porch of her swamp shack and spend the day cackling away. I gotta be honest, that sounds like the life. That sounds like the perfect life. Just sitting on a swamp listening to the crawdads sing, cackling and cursing nearby towns. Allegedly, she would predict the demise of nearby towns and their residents. She would sing twisted songs about her death, their death, the end of days, basically everybody dying. Despite the fact that she was a kooky old lady singing songs about the apocalypse on her front steps, locals actually trusted her quite a bit as an oracle and a prophet, and were fearful of wronging her just in case she placed a hex on them. Now, the prediction she's most well known for, besides one really bizarre oddball correct prediction about the outcome of the 1994 Super Bowl Cowboys at Bills game, was her threatening prediction in 1915, where Julie White would cackle over and over that she was going to die and take everyone with her. She chanted this again and again for days until eventually passing away in her chair. On her funeral, a hurricane hit the town, decimating 3 villages and taking countless lives. Julie is said to be buried somewhere in the swamp, and locals believe it was her spirit that caused that hurricane. So if you go on through, just be nice, I guess. Pay a little respect to Miss Julie White. Number 1, Cameron Park, Texas. Our last entry for today is going to be Cameron Park in picturesque Texas. The park and the forest are just gorgeous, a beautiful little slice of Americana, but you and I both know that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about paranormal hauntings, and you better believe Cameron Park has that, buddy. They couldn't even settle on just one haunted spot in this park, as the place is said to be home to more than a few. We've got Jacob's Ladder, which is a set of stairs that is said to be haunted by the climber's ghost, a malevolent prankster spirit with a bit of a dark sense of humor that tugs at visitors and tries to pull them down the stairs. Terribly rude behavior from a ghost. Now, the most well-known site of paranormal activity in Cameron Park, though, is the Witch's Castle, the nickname given to the collapsing ruins that lay in the heart of the park. Now, according to local folklore, the castle are the ruins of a house that once belonged to a woman accused of witchcraft. Okay, I'm actually witch accused, old castle, house, putting this all together. Yeah, okay, I kind of understand where the name Witch's Castle comes from. It's fascinating how the etymology of language works. Sometimes it's obvious. In the the late 1800s, people kept going missing around the areas surrounding Cameron Park, leading to locals to suspect that our mystery Jane Doe was involved somehow. And they retaliated the only way people in the 1800s knew how to deal when they suspected a woman of heresy and witchcraft. You know what they did? They reasonably sat down with her, they had an adult conversation, they talked about their suspicions, their expectations. No, they formed a mob and burned her house down while she was still inside. Of course they did. So is it any surprise then that the locals have shared stories about how the witch's restless spirit haunts the grounds of Cameron Park and is said to appear out to visitors who can hear her cackle during late hours of the night? No, I would say that's not much of a surprise at all. That sounds completely reasonable. Well, my ghouls and goblins, that's about all she wrote for this one. Thanks so much for watching. You keep on creeping on now, and I'll see you in the next one. So long as I come back from my camping trip this weekend. Never know what's happening out there.